How do you know if you are undercharging, if you are devaluing yourself? A lot of the problems with procrastination, I find, is that people are not really sure of the value of the work that they do. And so it's much easier to go for distractions, for procrastination, for putting things off, for not getting things out there. Now, the answer to that is not to have somebody like me telling you, just do it, just publish, just hit record. That is not the solution because that doesn't address the internal problem. Hi, I'm Anthony English, and I've now got a new series. I'm doing a new series in this podcast specifically around procrastination and how to value yourself and how to value your work. Let me tell you a story. Just yesterday, I had some friends from the US. I'm here in Australia, in Sydney, and I had some friends from the US who came out and we visited a little village, and it has artisan shops, craft and artisans and artwork and woodwork, those sort of things. And one of my friends is very much into all of that sort of stuff, and I'm not at all. And she bought some things that I suppose you might call them souvenirs. Bought a t-shirt for her husband and a tea towel and some other things, a little bit of woodwork, things that she could quite easily carry back home from Australia on the long haul to the US. And she paid quite a bit of money for them, which I thought, well, that's great, but I would never pay that. And I was thinking, well, why is she paying that when I wouldn't? Because I'm asking myself, like, it's not. I'm telling myself it's not worth it, but she's telling herself a different story. She's saying it's totally worth it. I want to encourage the local artisans. I want to take these souvenirs back to the US, and then as I use this tea towel or the t-shirt, whatever, I'm going to remember my trip to Australia. Now, the interesting thing here is that in her mind, spending whatever money she spent on those things was totally worth it, because she could see that getting those objects that she was buying were worth more to her than the money that she spent for them. So in her mind, she was not paying the artisan for the work, or perhaps she was doing that, but she wasn't paying an hourly rate. She may or may not know how much effort and how much work goes into those things. I don't know. I'm sure that she'd have a much better estimate of it. But she was able to assess this is valuable for me, for herself. And she could see that it was going to be a win for the artisan who made, or the artisans who made those objects. It's going to be a win for her. She's going to remember those. She's going to have those artifacts as memories when she goes back home to the US. Remember her trip to Australia, and it's a win all around. It's a win for the artisan shop, which was a cooperative where they had 35 people who formed a cooperative, and so they themselves are able to pull together their resources and have some shelf space for each of them, whether they were making jewellery or jam or other things, and they were able to have some shelf space in this lovely little shop. My point here is that my friend saw the value, which I didn't, and I still don't, but my friend saw the value. She wasn't looking at the work involved. I could see that there was a lot of work involved in making those things, but she wasn't paying them like an employee or how many hours of work they may have put in. She was seeing the value for herself, and that was where the exchange happened. And so how does this affect you if you are undervaluing yourself? If you think that you are not charging enough, So here's the lesson. If you are undervaluing yourself, if you are undercharging, that's actually really good news. If you know that you are undercharging, that's really, really good news, because what that's saying is, I know that not just that I'm working hard for this and it's really paying me very little, but you say, I know that what I am doing is worth more, is more valuable. And so that conversation in your mind, first of all, around, is what I'm doing really valuable? That is golden. That is really wonderful news. And so, what I'm inviting you to do in this series about valuing yourself, valuing your work, is to think of it different, in a different perspective. Don't think of it like the way that I thought when I saw those crafts and artwork, and thought I would never pay for that. Even if I had the money, I would never pay for that. It seemed to me that the price was not worth as much as the value. No, that means for them that I am not their customer, okay? And that is devaluing their work. But it means that I'm just not their customer, which is totally fine. But think through your own mind of how somebody who is really, really getting the value, how are they going to see that value? How are they going to say, if I spend this money, like, this is totally worth it? Like, how come it's so little? I can see the value. Those are your customers. So it's not even you seeing the value for yourself. That's very important. But it's you seeing the value through the eyes of your customer, your client, seeing the value of the work you do rather than just how much effort you put in. So see the value, the difference that that you're making to them, the transformation that you're bringing about for them. And that transformation could be in terms of productivity for them, it could be saving them time, it could be making them money, or it could be a much more emotional thing, such as with my friend who came all the way, who bought these things to take back from Australia to the US. It's like a 20 hour or more flight. She's carrying them with her because she could see the value. Okay, we'll see you next time on this series of Know Your Value, or value yourself and value your work.